People are lying to you, and I'm so frustrated. So I'm putting together a video to tell you the truth. People are lying to you about the relationship between robots and recruiters. So I'd like to help people understand a little bit better what is going on between robots and recruiters. I'm in a place of frustration for multiple reasons. Context: I'm in the middle of moving. I'm transferring apartments in the same building from one floor to another. And I left my apartment twice already today. What time is it? It's 9:30 in the morning. I've left twice and returned home and pressed the wrong button on the elevator. Little things like that have been happening this morning. So I'm frustrated already. And I read a post on LinkedIn, and it's one that gets repeated over and over and over again. And a lot of people say this message, and it's just not right. It's disinformation, it's a lie. So I'd like to tell you, and I put this video together while frustrated to explain that relationship between the robot, aka the applicant tracking system that your resume goes into when you apply to a position, and the recruiter and the relationship between them and what happens with your resume. And I'm telling the truth. I know this from my experience in recruiting. If you look at my profile, you'll see some of the companies that I've recruited for and that I worked at a recruitment marketing technology company. I have worked on integration projects with multiple applicant tracking systems. I've also lived inside of some of the world's largest applicant tracking systems, creating positions, analyzing data, evaluating the funnels, building pivot tables. It's been so fun. I've had a great career. And I know how the inside of an applicant tracking system works, and I understand the technology. So, all that said, here's what's happening. When a recruiter enters their position into the system, it scans the job description. Not all of them are capable of this, but many are capable of this. And the job description might look like you need this. When an applicant shows up in the system, maybe looking like this, you can see it's not really an exact match. Maybe these two things aren't exactly aligned. They don't look identical. The robot will scan the job description and compare it to the description of the resume contained in the resume. And it will rank how close of a match are you? How far apart are the job description and the applicant that came in? And it'll provide the recruiter with a relevancy score. And that may, in a system where the recruiter is looking at 200 applications for one position, it may decrease your chances of your resume being reviewed. That might happen. If it's a position where there's minimal applications, the recruiter's probably going to dig and not even rely on that scoring technology at all and look at those resumes. That said, there is one way that a recruiter's robot that's doing some work to help the recruiter be more efficient in their work will move you from someone who applied into someone who is no longer being considered. And that is if the human programmed the system with what are called knockout questions. So if a role absolutely with zero flexibility requires a certain level of education, we would all agree a doctor should probably be an MD, right? So if the application asked a question, do you hold an MD? And the person who applied answered no. And the recruiter had programmed the robot to move anybody who said no to that question into the no longer being considered pile, then the robot will move you. We rely on this technology sometimes to help us prioritize the order in which we read a resume. Another great example of when that prioritization helps us, which is an algorithm that's doing this, is when we type a keyword string into a search engine or into our applicant tracking system. We ask it to fetch resumes for us if we're having a difficult time filling a position. That is another way that the robot will rank relevancy score, much like the way Google does for you when you're on a search engine. Those are the two biggest ways that robots impact what's happening when you apply and what stands in the way of you and the recruiter. Do not write your resume for robots. There are humans on the other side of the review process who are reading your resumes. If you stuff it with keywords to make it relevant to a position, the human who reads it will not know your story. They will know your keywords, and they might not even want to hear your story. Use your resume as a way to highlight the highlights of your career. Don't write it for a robot. Don't write a cover letter for every single position either. If you are in a spot of career transition, okay, maybe write the cover letter. You're relocating, maybe write the cover letter. My friend Ellie, I'm going to link her article. She surveyed 1,000 recruiters on whether or not we read cover letters. I'll link it. You should totally check out that article. It's fascinating. Me personally, I read them when I need to know more, when the resume doesn't tell me. But if you're applying for jobs that are absolutely related to your industry, to your location, it makes sense why you're applying for the position, you don't really need the cover letter. That's it. That's it. I'm frustrated with the disinformation, and I wanted to tell you the truth. Be careful who you're taking advice from. Have a fantastic day.